Direct from the Six, world-renowned, Canada's largest city, with Canada's biggest thinkers, visionaries, and hustlers. This is Startup Talk, featuring the founders, funders, innovators, and community leaders who've led Canada's startup ecosystem right here in Toronto. You'll hear the challenges, the failures, the successes. Toronto's Startup Podcast gives you the full story direct from the entrepreneurs and influencers who've made a difference. Now, the host of Startup Talk, the founder of TorontoStarts, the Startup Coach.
So you mentioned, coming to the investors and being on the rocket ship and looking for $1 million to get started. Before coming to an investor, what funding options should founders be looking at?
John, that's yours.
Yeah, I was going to say, John is the non-dilutive funding.
Yeah, so the biggest one that is the easiest, but obviously. So let me just set the stage here. When it comes to non-dilutive funding, there's a disconnect between what the government sees as a startup and what an actual startup is. When we're talking pre-revenue startup, there's not much out there, unless you are bootstrapping and you can pay for expenses yourself, because then you've got the best R&D tax credit in the world, the most lucrative, which is SR&ED. It's the most difficult to get, but it's also the most lucrative if you're a Canadian-owned company at 63 cents on the dollar, refundable in your pocket. You go buy a new car or reinvest that if you're smart. But SR&ED is great if you're developing new tech or if you're improving on tech or products. There are other ones out there. For the most part, if you are a pre-revenue startup that's incorporated less than 2 years, your best bet is if you're in the niche kind of areas. So there's some med tech ones that you could potentially go after if you're in the med tech space. The most general one for investors for startups are hiring grants. There's one that opens up every December, January called Canada Summer Jobs. You can leverage that to hire some summer interns to get them to do some grunt work stuff. That's a really, really good one because you can hire as many as you want. You get 50% of their wage covered. But when it comes to anything else, most grants you need to be incorporated for at least 2 years. And for some, you even need revenue. IRAP is one where it's like SR&ED, but you don't have to. It's a grant as opposed to a tax credit. And when you think about grants, before there used to be grants where they would cover 100% of a project cost, but nowadays that's few and far between. So you're looking at 50-50 split, 60-40 split. There's different ones. The Scale AI actually does, if you are pre-revenue and you're building something that is a value chain proposition in AI, and value chain means pretty much anything nowadays, then Scale AI is one that you can go after. They have a new accelerator stream, newer, that you can go after, but you'd need a customer. You need the application to go through your customer. But that's one that if you're pre-revenue and you've got this great idea and you want to get some funding, that's one, but there's few and far between.
This has been Startup Talk, Toronto's startup podcast. For more exclusive content, the episode vault, and to be part of Toronto Starts community, visit TorontoStarts.com. Get your name on the newsletter mailing list and check out our upcoming events. For more episodes, subscribe now. And please recognize the time and work behind the scenes put into connecting you with the biggest visionaries, entrepreneurs, and innovators in Toronto by leaving a 5-star review. Join us for more next episode from Toronto's most active entrepreneur and startup community on Startup Talk.